Welcome back to my bookshelf. As you may know or may not know, I have been unboxing books after my move. I've already went through a bunch of boxes before that were sitting in my garage, but I have a bunch more boxes of books that I need to unpack and see what's in it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do another one of these unboxing videos. I have 5 small boxes this time, so hopefully it won't take too long to get through. Who am I? I am the BookTube Goddess, the #1 drag queen booktuber on YouTube. So let's go ahead and start with the first small box. Okay, it looks like there are some hardcovers here. We have my hard copy version of Inagica by Clive Barker. This is one of my favorite, probably my most favorite Clive Barker book, if not my favorite horror book, although it tends to be more fantasy horror because it's very otherworldly, fantastical, but I love this book. Next we have my collection of Armistead Mall pens, Tales of the City, Back to Barbary Lane. The books are not this big. This is a compendium of This is volume 2 of the Omnibus Compendium. I'm sure I have both copies. If you don't know, Tales of the City tells a tale of Marianne Singleton, I believe, and Michael Tolliver, and their adventures in San Francisco in the 70s. It is so accurate. It started as a newspaper column, and soon Armistead Mall Pen made its name writing these stories, and they are great. And having lived in San Francisco, although San Francisco has changed a lot, at least when I first moved there in 1989, there were so many similarities to the Tales of the City we see in Armistead Mall Pen's books. And then we have a book written by a friend of mine, Mark Pesce. If you're seeing this, Mark, hi. He is the godfather of virtual reality modeling language, which he hoped to create a 3-dimensional environment on the internet. This was written in 1995, and I believe some of Mark's visions are actually just around the corner. But this is actually a manual on how to build in the virtual reality modeling language. And the last book in this box is Storm of Swords by George R.R. Martin, which is, of course, a Game of Thrones book. The series is called A Song of Fire and Ice. And I do like this series. I hope he finishes it. Okay, now we have another small box of books. At least I hope it's books because it says books on it. So let's see what's in this one. Okay, it looks like we have a lot of paperbacks, starting with Vonda McIntyre, The Moon and the Sun. Nebula Award winner. Best novel, at least it says so on the cover. I don't remember this one, but I do like Vonda McIntyre. Solid science fiction author. And actually, as I look at this cover more, I'm pretty sure this is about mermaids. So if you're into mermaids, check out The Moon and the Sun. We have Richard Grant, Through the Heart. I don't believe this was my favorite book in the world to read. I don't remember much about it, except I believe I was a little disappointed. I believe this is steampunk, and for a while there, I never really had much luck reading steampunk until I got to Gail Carriger, but Richard Grant. Next we have Rhapsody by Elizabeth Hayden. I adore Elizabeth Hayden's writing, but I'm not sure if she's still writing. I don't remember seeing any of her books out recently, but I should check that out because a fantastic epic fantasy author. And if you are into Dungeons & Dragons and like the Bard class, I believe this whole series is about a bard. Next we have, oh goodness, Priest Kings of Gore by John Norman. Gore is like a Conan type character. Quick little fun fantasy adventures. Not very deep. But if you like sort of Edgar Rice Burroughs, Conan, that type of thing, you'll probably like Gore. Next we have C.J. Cherryh, Heavy Time. And this novel is in her, I forget what they call it, her universe set in the far future space. And I think this is a solid book, but my favorite that she's written in this universe is Site Teen, but heavy time. And finally in this box, The Castle of the Silver Wheel by Teresa Edgerton. I recognize the name. I don't remember this book in particular, but I believe Teresa Edgerton's a decent writer if you're looking for some fast fantasy reads. That's it for this box. We're going through these quick. We're moving on to another small box. Okay, I don't know if I've gone over some of these books before because they look so familiar, but I have Enterprise, the First Adventure by Vonda McIntyre. I don't read a whole lot of Star Trek books, but Vonda McIntyre is one of the authors that I like that has done Star Trek novels. Next we have the entire Bartimaeus trilogy by Jonathan Stroud. Oh, this is middle grade, so I know that puts people off, but boy, these are really good fantasy adventures. Bartimaeus is, I believe, a demon that is summoned by a teenage sorcerer, and it's his servant, but it's a very interesting relationship and dynamic. These books are humorous, the plotting is great, the writing is gorgeous. Next we have Haruki Murakami's Dance, Dance, Dance. If you don't know, this is a Japanese author. These are translated works, and he's very trippy, very psychedelic. Maybe his writing's not for everyone, but I enjoy it. Next we have the Mammoth Book of Short Horror. Yeah, I think I unboxed this once before, but we're unboxing it again. So let's take a look at this compilation of horror short fiction. There's Stephen King, Arthur Conan Doyle. Boy, this runs a gamut, doesn't it? Algernon Blackwood. Not recognizing many of the names here, but sometimes I do like reading some short fiction, horror in this case. And then we have, oh, I know I've reviewed this before, Trixie and Katj's Guide to Modern Womanhood. Very thin book, lots of pictures. This is mostly a coffee table book. There are humorous little essays in it, but it's really not for readers. It's for fans of Drag Race or fans of Trixie and Katja. And it is funny. Okay, that is it for this box. Let's move on to another. We have The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks. I haven't read this. I don't even know why I have this. I don't know why I have this book. Then we have Troublemaker by Joseph Hansen. Oh, I think I saw another one of these in the last unboxing about a gay detective. I don't think I've read those. I have a feeling that I may have a few books from friends that have left them at my place and I'll just sort of absorb them. Now I know this is my copy because I remember getting it at a used bookstore. It is Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventure in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. And this is the Puffin Book edition. Oh, I just love Alice in Wonderland. I love the illustrations, and it's always nice to have a copy of the book that you love. Then we have Jean Genet, Our Lady of Flowers. Okay, I know who these books belong to. My friend Sean. He's recommended this to me. If you don't know, Jean Genet is a French gay author from way back in the day. Again, I haven't read this book, but I have seen movies based on Jean Genet's work. They're very raw, very explicit. So maybe I should read this one. Let me know in the comments. Jean Genet, Our Lady of the Flowers. Okay, this is a book of poetry or letters from one poet to another, and it was a gay poet from France back in the day, Rainier Rilke. I believe there was a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, something moon, full moon or something. I'll put it up here. I'm not a big fan of French poetry, but again, this is his letters, so it's kind of historically interesting. Okay, we kind of went on a little journey on that last box. Those are 4 boxes down. I have just 1 box more. However, this is the largest of the small boxes, so let's go ahead and check it out. Okay, we're starting off weird with the worst case scenario survival handbook, which is sort of this comic humorous book, but with some actual useful advice, like how to deal with a down power line, how to perform a fast 180-degree turn with your car, how to break down a door. Why do I have this? Then we have a Magic the Gathering Player's Guide book. I was really into Magic the Gathering, and I'll tell you the year of this book, which will let you know when I was into Magic the Gathering. 1994. So, yeah. Next we have Glenn Cook. I love the Black Company books. This is in his, I think, second or third trilogy, but I always recommend the original trilogy of the Black Company if you're into dark fantasy. We have Dan Simmons' Hyperion. I think this is now considered a classic. I mean, it just was written in 1990. It says 1990 Hugo winner. So, yeah, this is a great novel. Highly recommend Dan Simmons' Hyperion if you're into science fiction. Next we have The Enchantments of Flesh and Spirit, one of the books in the Wrath-Rue trilogy by Storm Constantine, who is sort of this very strange goth, queer writer from the 80s, and this is like the fantasy for every young goth gay teen. I have read this multiple times and I love this series. Next we have Voyage of the Fox Rider by Dennis McKiernan. Epic fantasy. From the size of this and from the cover, I don't really remember it, but I don't think I hated it. It just doesn't stick into my mind what the story was about. But it has a very cool cover. Next we have Mike Resnick, Paradise. I don't recall this one, but I love Mike Resnick's writing. He might be considered a classic science fiction author now. And although I don't remember the specifics of this particular book, my favorite are his Oracle series, and he also did sort of this fun space adventure Santiago, but great writer that people need to rediscover. Next we have, I was just talking about C.J. Cherryh's Satine. Here's one of the novels in the series. Here we have Stephen R. Donaldson's A Man Rides Through. Now, Donaldson is, of course, the author of the Thomas Covenant Chronicles, which is his most famous series. And however, I really liked his science fiction series, The Gap into Knowledge, or The Gap Cycle. He did write another fantasy, I believe this is a duology, but it didn't do as well as Thomas Covenant, but this is the follow-up to The Mirror of Her Dreams, A Man Rides Through. Next we have Janny Wirtz, Cursed of the Mithrace. I love this cover. This is volume 1 of The Wars of Light and Shadow, a nice, thick, epic fantasy. And Janny Wirtz is mostly known for collaborating with Raymond Feist with the Daughters of the Empire series. In his Rift War universe, this is On the Other Side of the Rift, which I think is some of the best novels in his universe. But I like Janny Wirtz's writing a lot. Then we have Shadowrun book. I was very much into Shadowrun back in the 90s. It's a role-playing game, and I picked up some of the books. I don't recommend these books, not at all. Here we have Paula Volsky's Illusion. I believe this is sort of a Russian-based fantasy novel, and it has a gorgeous cover, and I recommend this author, Paula Volsky, good writer. Speak of the Devil. This is the Janny Ward's Raymond Feist series I was talking about. This is Servant of the Empire, sequel to Daughters of the Empire. I believe this is a trilogy in the Rift War saga, and I think it's the best books of that whole universe. Next we have Ships from the West by Paul Kearney, The Monarchies of God, Book 5. I don't recall this in particular, but if I'm up to Book 5, then I must have liked the series. Next we have Darkspell by Catherine Kerr. She's not my favorite fantasy author, but she is one of the early ones, and gorgeous cover, by the way. I find her writing just a little bit dry, just for me. But again, a classic fantasy author. Next we have Golden Witchbreed by Mary Gentle. And it has a pretty cool cover. I've definitely read several Mary Gentle books, but again, she's one of those authors that I don't hear much about anymore. And I don't hear people talking about her, but they should. Next we have Witch by Donald McQuinn. I remember not liking this series. I think I stuck with it for a little bit, but it wasn't my favorite series. Here we have, an Honor Harrington book by David Weber. Now this is military science fiction, and I like the Honor Harrington books. Now I did try to read one of the later ones, there's like 20 of them out or something, and I didn't get through that one. I had to DNF it because it was just so bogged down. But the early ones are just fun military space adventures. And Honor Harrington, the main character, or titular character, has a giant cat as her companion. So, I mean, cats. Here we have my copy of Assassin's Apprentice. I talk about Robin Hobb, I think, in every one of these unboxings. One of my favorite authors. This is one of my favorite series. Certainly my favorite covers of these Assassin books. It's part of the realm of the Elderling saga. And this is the first trilogy. And I think the trilogy's just improved. There's like 4 or 5 of them now. But the trilogy's improved, as her writing has matured. And of course, yet another Robin Hobb, Golden Fool. This is a different trilogy in the Elderling series, but you gotta read Robin Hobb if you're into fantasy. Here we have Zen and the Art of Writing by Ray Bradbury. I don't think this is very helpful in actually improving your writing, but I mean, it is Ray Bradbury, so you got to check it out if you're into writing. Next we have, The Shadow Rising, Book 4 of the Wheel of Time. Talk about this a lot because there's a lot of Wheel of Time books, so they're scattered through a bunch of the boxes. I like Wheel of Time a lot. Did not particularly care much for the Amazon series, but if you're into epic fantasy and a long series, I would check it out. I definitely recommend at least the first 3 books. The middle of the series, in my opinion, kind of lags, and then unfortunately Robert Jordan died and Brandon Sanderson finished the series, and as much as I enjoy Brandon Sanderson's writing, I don't believe, you could tell it wasn't Robert Jordan. So there was a bit of a disconnect there, but I kept reading through because I wanted to, after 13 books, I wanted to know how the series ended, and it ended, I was kind of unsatisfied by the ending. But I still recommend the series. Even after all that, I still recommend at least the first 3 or 4 books. And finally, the very last novel is a Zantz novel. What do you know? Piers Anthony, Question Quest. If you don't know, the Zantz novels by Piers Anthony are heavily based on puns. So if you like puns, you're going to love the Zantz novels. Personally, they got very, very repetitive to me, but I stand by the first 3 novels as a trilogy, which starts with a spell for chameleon. Very funny and very fast-paced reads, and I love the characters, at least, again, in those first 3 novels. So that's it for the last box, and that's it for this video. I will have yet another unboxing video at some point because I have more books to unbox, if you can believe it or not. Let me know in the comments if there's any books here that you've read or that you're interested in, and maybe we could have a little discussion. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.